Yo, what's up YouTube? I'm back again with another video for you guys. This time, this is my updated build guide for Hu Tao for 2.2, featuring Milelith builds, Dragon's Bane and Staff of Homa comparisons, and Shimenawa comparisons. So if that interests you, then stick around because we're going to go into the math and really dive deep into this. While you're at it, you should check out my Twitch channel. You should also check out the Discord. It's a great place to talk Genshin and just a whole bunch of other stuff like anime. I also have tons of other content on Hu Tao already, so make sure you go and check those videos out. Links to those will be in the description below. With that said, let's go on to the video, and like I mentioned before, I'm going to be taking a look at a handful of artifact sets in today's video, specifically her most popular ones, which are the 4-piece Crimson Witch set, 2-piece Crimson Witch sets with various other 2-piece sets, 2-piece Milelith sets, 4-piece Shimenawa set, and even the 4-piece Lavawalker set. Yep, you heard me. 4-piece Lavawalker. The two weapons that we're going to be using in today's video is the Dragon's Bane and the Staff of Homa. If you're interested in comparisons for the other weapons, again, go and check my other videos. Dragon's Bane is definitely one of her best 4-star weapons, but only if you use elemental reactions. Vaporize is especially easy for her because she can easily vaporize every single one of her attacks if you use Xingqiu. If you are not going to be using elemental reactions, then you should stick with something like a deathmatch or a Black Cliff pole. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty now. So our Hu Tao is going to be built with an HP % Sands piece, a pyro damage goblet, and a crit rate circlet. Included in this math is also enough substats to bring us to about 50% crit rate and about 168% crit damage. This of course is going to change whether we use the Dragon's Bane or Staff of Homa, because the Dragon's Bane does not have any extra crit damage. So with the Dragon's Bane, we're going to be losing about 66.2% crit damage. So keep that in mind. Let's talk about the 2-piece Milelith set for Hu Tao. 2-piece Milelith set gives you an extra HP % buff, 20% extra HP, and it's very easy to calculate how much attack power we'll get just from a measly 20% HP buff. I have here a table that is going to tell you how much attack you're going to get depending on your talent level and depending on your ascension level. So for example, if you're level 80 ascension 5, not ascended to the final phase, and you have a talent level of 8, you'll get an extra 155 attack by using a 2-piece Milelith set. Similarly, if you decide to ascend her, then you get 164, and if you decide to level her all the way to 90, you'll get 176. Change that to a crowned Hu Tao, and you'll have 172, 181, or 195. But these are just numbers. It's kind of hard to tell how much of a difference they're going to make. So we'll see those differences when I do the artifact comparisons in just a little bit here. So for the math that I did, I calculated both average damage and crit damage, but we'll mostly only be looking at crit damage in today's video, since these are actual numbers you could potentially see in the game, and it gives us a better sense of how much damage Hu Tao can actually output. There's also no reason to look at average damage in today's video, because the crit rate is going to be the same between these two builds, since neither weapon or artifact set is giving extra crit rate. This means the crit rate between all of these comparisons we're making is exactly the same. The only times when we need to look at average damage is when the crit rate between the builds are a little bit different, because that's going to affect your overall average damage. But since that's not the case today, we're just going to stick to crit damage. The graphs will also be plotting 7 charge attacks and 2 Blood Blossom procs. 7 because we need to use our burst at the end of our skill, and if you do 8, you don't have enough time to use your elemental burst while retaining the attack bonus from your elemental skill. I'm only using 2 Blood Blossom procs, but I'm pretty sure you can get up to 3 with a single E-skill rotation, but I'm just using 2 just to be on the little safe side. So we might be missing a little bit of damage, but it's not too huge. Hu Tao also has no internal cooldown on her moves, so all of these moves are vaping every single time. We are making the assumption that Xingqiu is applying enough Hydro and the rest of your team is not stealing those Hydro applications from Hu Tao. Hu Tao Vaporize is definitely one of our most recommended team comps out there, because an extra 1.5 times damage on your attacks is really good. But of course, you're not forced to play Vaporize. You can play Hu Tao however you want. So let's get started and compare her new Milelith builds. So the two Milelith builds we'll be comparing today is a 2-piece Crimson Witch with 2-piece Milelith and a 2-piece Milelith with 2-piece Wanderer set. we're going to be using Dragon's Bane as our initial control here, and we're going to compare this to all of those other builds that I just mentioned. So when we take a look at this first graph here, Dragon's Bane R1, we can see that the 2-piece Crimson Witch and 2-piece Milelith is actually one of the best performing sets here. It falls behind the 4-piece Shimenawa set, but remember that Shimenawa is only best used if you can use your Elemental Burst every time you use your E-skill. The energy drain might prevent that, so really on these charts, the Elemental Burst damage should actually be 0. And if we make that change, then the Shimenawa is doing a lot less damage. If we look at just the charge attack numbers, the 2-piece Crimson Witch and 2-piece Milelith, 7 charge attacks is about 68,000 damage, and 7 charge attacks from 4-piece Shimenawa is about 77,000 damage. So it does about 10,000 damage more. However, our Elemental Burst is dealing about 20,000. So that means that if you get your Elemental Burst off, 2-piece Crimson Witch, 2-piece Milelith is actually going to end up dealing more damage than your Shimenawa set. So this means you should only use the 4-piece Shimenawa if you have enough energy regeneration to mitigate that extra 15 energy drain so that Hu Tao can actually pop her burst at the end of her E-skill rotation. This is pretty much the case with the Shimenawa set all the time, so you could use this as a good rule of thumb. Only use the 4-piece Shimenawa set if you have enough energy recharge from the team or from substats. Next up here, you can kind of see that the 4-piece Lavawalker is doing really good. So of course, this graph is a no reaction graph, so no Vaporize here, just a mono Pyro team, and as long as the enemy is afflicted by Pyro the entire time, 4-piece Lavawalker is actually the second best set here. In terms of charge attack damage, between the 4-piece Shimenawa and 4-piece Lavawalker, there's only a 10.5% difference. Between the Shimenawa and the Milelith, it was about 12.7%. So just a little bit more because the Milelith is a little bit worse than the 4-piece Lavawalker in a mono Pyro comp. The overall difference between a 4-piece Lavawalker and 4-piece Shimenawa, that means when we include her entire kit, including the Blood Blossom, the normal attacks, and the Elemental Burst, there is only around 2.6% difference, so not very huge at all. And between Milelith and Lavawalker, it's only 2.2% damage difference. So between those two sets, it's very close. But now let's go ahead and move on to Vaporize damage with the Dragon's Bane at R1. And you can see that things definitely change as it should be. 4-piece Crimson Witch set is now the best set because it boosts that elemental reaction damage by quite a bit. In this graph, I don't even plot the Lavawalker because you don't even get the bonus if you Vaporize. So it's basically like running no artifact set at all. So there's no reason to plot that. Aside from that, basically almost every artifact set is really close to each other. Shimenawa here is only slightly better than the rest of the sets, but that's because we're plotting the elemental burst damage. Remember what I just said, that if you cannot cast your burst, then this damage should actually be plotted as 0, and then Shimenawa is going to do significantly less damage. However, it is true that when you hit a charge attack, you will be seeing the highest number out of any of the sets. But when you consider that elemental burst damage, your overall damage is going to be lower. So again, just keep that in mind if you want to use the 4-piece Shimenawa set. 4-piece Crimson Witch set is the absolute best for Vaporize because Hu Tao has no internal cooldown, so literally everything she does is vaping as long as no other character is stealing the Hydro application. Xingqiu does apply a lot, so you want to be careful if you use Homa because he will steal a vape or two from your Hu Tao, resulting in a non-vaped charge attack, which means overall less damage. Homa does not steal every vape from Hu Tao, but he does steal a couple. It also requires a very strict timing and rotation in order to make sure that he doesn't steal from Hu Tao. The percent difference between Hu Tao's charge attack with the Shimenawa set and the 4-piece Crimson Witch set is about 5.7%. So that damage difference definitely does not justify losing out on the damage from your elemental burst, especially if you are vaping this. A vape on your elemental burst results in very big damage. So in this case, Shimenawa, definitely not a good choice if you're planning to vape. When we break Hu Tao's kit down by attack, we can see that obviously the 4-piece Shimenawa has the highest normal and charge attack damage, denoted by that orange bar, but then it does significantly worse everywhere else, Blood Blossom and the Spirit Soother. The 4-piece Lavawalker is doing the best and comes in second place for the normal and charge attacks. Quickly following that is the 2-piece Crimson Witch and the 2-piece Milelith set. And if you decide to Vaporize, the 4-piece Shimenawa set will have the highest charge attack damage, but its damage on everything else is going to be much lower. 4-piece Crimson Witch is second best on her charged vapes, but is the best on everything else. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good picture on how these different artifact sets compare to each other. So now that we have all this information, how should we build our Hu Tao? If you are vaping, 4-piece Crimson Witch set is still undeniably one of the best sets she can run. If you can't run a 4-piece Crimson Witch set, then all of the other artifact sets are pretty much the same, so go with the one with better substats, and only go for a 4-piece Shimenawa if you have enough energy recharge. With a mono Pyro comp, 4-piece Lavawalker, 2-piece Crimson Witch with 2-piece Milelith is a very good option, so you can't really go wrong with that. Shimenawa is in the same spot. Don't use it unless you have enough energy recharge to cast your elemental burst. But now I bet you're wondering, does this change if we switch out weapons? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap into the Staff of Homa and we'll see if anything changes. The short answer is that nothing changes. So let's first take a look at the non-reaction chart again. And 4-piece Shimenawa is at the top once again, but it's not that much stronger than the 4-piece Lavawalker set, at least in terms of overall damage. Shimenawa is definitely going to give you the biggest numbers with charge attacks, and you can see that here we're dealing about 13k with 7 charge attacks, and with Lavawalker we're only dealing about 12k, but it's the elemental burst damage that makes it so that the Lavawalker really catches up to the Shimenawa set. And I'm probably going to just say this every single time, but again, if you cannot cast your burst, Shimenawa set is not a good one to choose. Following the Lavawalker is the 2-piece Crimson Witch set with the 2-piece Milelith set. So 2-piece Crimson Witch and 2-piece Milelith is a pretty good choice if you cannot get your hands on any of the other kinds of sets. In terms of damage difference, the overall percent damage difference between Shimenawa and Lavawalker is less than 1%, and the charge attack damage is about 10.6%, which when we looked at Dragon's Bane R1, it was about 10.5%. So basically nothing changed. 0.1% change, which is basically nothing. Let's go ahead and move on to the Vaporize chart now, and it's the same story. 4-piece Crimson Witch set is going to be our best bet here. 4-piece Shimenawa is the lowest damaging set here. 4-piece Shimenawa is actually now not the second best here. Before, with the Dragon's Bane, it was second best, but it was still really close to everything else. But here, 2-piece Wanderers is doing pretty good here. That extra 80 elemental mastery helps the Staff of Homa deal pretty good Vaporize numbers. 2-piece Crimson Witch and 2-piece Milelith is not a great choice here because it doesn't boost any kind of elemental reaction damage. Now, since this is a 2-piece Wanderer set, all it does is give us 80 elemental mastery. So this means that if you can manage 80 elemental mastery from substats, you can choose a better 2-piece set instead of the Wanderer set. But yeah, clearly switching over to Staff of Homa makes almost no difference at all in which artifact set is doing the best. They're all still very close to each other. Okay, so now let's compare the Staff of Homa with the Dragon's Bane. We're going to be doing various different kinds of comparisons here, like an R5 Dragon's Bane, R1 Dragon's Bane, what Staff of Homa does and doesn't have its buff, etc, etc. I'm going to be plotting 6 different combinations here, so let's take a look at how they all compare. So this chart is actually sorted by the amount of damage each weapon does, depending on which part of the kit we're taking a look at. So Charged Vapes, Blood Blossom Vapes, Spirit Soother Vapes, and when the Spirit Soother is less than 50% HP. So obviously the clear winner here is the 4-piece Crimson Witch set with Staff of Homa, but then following after that is the 4-piece Crimson Witch set Dragon's Bane R5, and do note that these are when you are below 50% HP, so that you have Hu Tao's extra 33% extra pyro damage bonus. The one that comes after that is 4-piece Crimson Witch Staff of Homa without its buff, so this means that we don't get the buff from the Staff of Homa, and we don't get the buff from Hu Tao's 33% pyro damage bonus. And then the weapon that comes close after that is the 4-piece Crimson Witch set Dragon's Bane R1 when we are below 50% HP. And then the 2 weapons that come in last place is the Dragon's Bane R5 and the Dragon's Bane R1 when we are above 50% HP. So that 33% extra pyro damage bonus is a very large damage increase. So even when the Dragon's Bane is at R5, if you are above 50% HP, it still doesn't do quite as well enough to match the damage of the Staff of Homa even without its buff. The only way you are competing with the Staff of Homa is if you are playing the Staff of Homa above 50% HP and if your Dragon's Bane is below 50% HP. But that probably wouldn't be very fair because we should be comparing these weapons when we are under the same conditions, either above 50% or below 50%. But this is the only time where the Dragon's Bane can actually compete with the Staff of Homa. So this tells us that the Staff of Homa is a very strong weapon even when we don't have its buff. And it's an absolutely broken weapon when you are below 50% HP. Anyway guys, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. I really appreciate you if you did. It really helps out the channel and it means a lot to me. So if you made it this far, then you must have liked the content. So maybe consider subscribing to the channel. Anyway guys, don't forget to leave a like, comment down below. Let me know if you guys are making any changes to your Hu Tao builds. And if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments or join the Discord. And until next time, I will see you guys later.